My name's Garry Edwards. I'm the Managing Director of the AM Investment Group. Our business focuses on agricultural investments up and down the protein supply chain. One of our investments and one of our more common investments is sale yards, like the one you see behind us here today. We use an awful lot of MLA data and industry data, whether it be the market reports that occur around our facilities on a weekly basis, through to the industry projections, the forecasts on herd and flock trends, all of your online information and various market trends from around the world that give us insights as to how we do projections about our business and about the industry as a whole. And it allows us to make more informed decisions on various different investments that we're pursuing right up and down the supply chain. The vast majority of information that we receive from MLA really relates to market statistics, sale data and NLRS marketing data that occurs right across the industry. We receive most of that information or access it through your website, although some of it is emailed to us. And essentially we benchmark how our facilities are performing, how the market's performing in general across a whole range of market characteristics, and really look at your various indicators as to what the price components are doing, and try and focus on getting our clients to use that information more about how they analyse their business. It's also extremely important that when we're preparing information memorandums for our investors around opportunities, getting them to invest in agriculture more generally, a lot of the information that we see in industry projections in regards to market reports and feedback from right around the world is the critical elements that they need to receive to understand information from a credible third party in relation to the type of investments we're doing. So currently we're investing over $120 million into some cattle production assets, and it was critical for the investors to see the MLA information around the historic market, but also the forward trend lines in regards to herd size, in regards to what the different markets are doing, whether they be feedlots, whether they be over the hook, but also live exports. Live exports is something that's very, very important, getting that information out of Northern Australia, because it's very hard to access it, or credible information, from sources other than MLA. The other sources that we look to for industry information, some of it we actually collect ourselves and analyse how the data we find through our various markets, but also government data, whether that be ABS or ABARE data and other information from industry organisations. At times there's data that comes out of North America through the USDA, but there's a lot of information around online these days. The challenge is benchmarking the validity of a lot of the information that's published. Unfortunately, we do see a lot of relatively fake news coming out of some sectors, so it allows us to have some balance in looking at that compared against the information we get from MLA. So one of the key challenges when we're looking particularly at the market reporting data is verifying and getting it down to a more detailed and objective level. One of the challenges is trying to determine the accuracy at times, understanding the limitations when you're asking any individual to make a subjective assessment. There is some differences in accuracy that we see when we analyse that data against particularly certified weights. However, the vast majority of the information is extremely good. It is important though for us, or it would be more important if we could get that down to a more granular basis, particularly seeing breed characteristics against market information, whether that be over the hooks or whether that be within the sale yards or whether that be any other form of pricing verification. Because not only knowing the market category of the livestock, the weight of the livestock, but importantly breed, gives us an indication in regards to how it's truly benchmarked against different production systems. The greatest confusion that our client base has is that they look at the Eastern Young Cattle Indicator as their reference point for everything, and they really should totally ignore it, because most of them are producing livestock, particularly in Northern Australia, that have zero relevance as to what the ECI is doing, yet you'll hear them quote the ECI constantly. And it's the greatest confusion about the available information from MLA is there's so much data available on different indices that people don't know how to access or don't know how to reference against, and really don't know at times how they fit within it. one of the great challenges that we're working through at the moment is the sheer number of people that really don't necessarily understand the muscle and fat scores and some of the historic Osmeat situations that used to be part of the general education 15 to 20 years ago. There's an awful lot of vendors these days that don't know how to fully interpret market reports and reference information. Although at the end of the day though, the best industry forecasts are the quarterly industry projections and also the annual forecasts that are published around the sheep and cattle industry. They provide us quite detailed and credible data, and I know it's a challenge to go into any further detail because they're very comprehensive as it is. But the more information that we can access online, giving us filtering characteristics to work through that data would be of great benefit. So as I just mentioned, one of the challenges that we have is getting people, and particularly our clients, to understand the data that they're looking at, to really see how that references against their production system. The challenge, as I see it, is really around education and making people understand what the different reference points mean to them. When they're looking at a market report or they're looking at any reference points, you would be surprised at the number of people that don't know the difference between carcass weight prices to live weight prices to shipped weight prices. Now, I guess it's something that we take for general, those of us who have been in the industry for some time, but any new entrant, and particularly within the investor market trying to get people to come in, it's often difficult for them to understand what the correlation is. One of the great challenges is that inside the market reports there's a lot of conversions around standard muscle score, fat score, and animal type descriptions to convert projected carcass weights or live weight prices to carcass weight prices. There's a genuine lack of understanding and communication as to how that calculation is occurring and what is the assumptions that sit behind it, but also the variance that comes in regards to carcass grid prices. One of the great pieces of feedback that comes back often is the transparency around the live weight prices, but people assume and benchmark everything off the highest point of a grid. But more often than not, there's a significant portion of the livestock they can sign direct to slaughter or under a contract basis that fall out of the absolute premium specifications. So anything that can be done to explain that, I know some of this is going back to 101, but we do have to understand that there are a number of people that are looking to enter this industry or have coming through into the industry that just simply haven't had that training that I guess we took for granted 15 to 20 years ago. One of the most interesting things that we believe as a business that MLA can do in changing its service provision is that the information, particularly at facilities like this, that is collected in regards to market information reported retrospectively after a sale, we would like to make available to all of our potential vendors before the sale commences as a more comprehensive and detailed and objective third-party pre-sale catalogue. We've had a significant uptake in the number of participants viewing our Stock Live system, where we've put all of our sales at the various facilities online. And we've had a tremendous response from vendors who are now actually watching what's occurring, seeing what's happening within the market, but also looking to opportunistically buy on what's occurring. The challenge is if we can take the assessment that currently is occurring by the market assessors either as the auction occurs and collating that afterwards and make that assessment available before a sale, we now have an incredibly powerful tool to educate the market, to inform buyers, to increase market competition in a manner that's never been seen before through the use of technology. Now, we would like to also see all of the other facilities that are participating in the livestock industry provide that level of transparency, because the more we inform the market, the more we provide greater opportunity for buyers to participate, the more competition we get. And at the end of the day, that deals with a lot of the negativity that has been falsely directed at various different supply chains where people simply don't understand. One of the greatest challenges that come out of the incident that led to the Senate inquiry is the sheer number of livestock producers that had no idea about the difference of livestock curfews, pre-weigh, post-weigh, and the difference of market prices, yields, weight loss, or any of that information. So being able to provide that pre-sale and being able to provide more detailed education to producers on the difference of how animals lose weight once they're off feed and water is an incredibly powerful situation. And by way of example, as a company we did some research to look at what happened in different situations when we had livestock off feed and water, whether they were on a water supply that was impacted by chlorine, or whether it was a natural water supply out of a river or a dam or a bore, how they responded under a roof with soft floor versus a concrete situation. And the consistent outcome of that is that livestock through that period, pre-weigh or post-weigh, and really that means a 6-hour or a 12-hour curfew, showed very, very consistent trends in weight loss, and more importantly, the animals that were on non-chlorinated water in a facility that had was an undercover facility with a soft floor consistently had 1.5% to 2% less weight loss. Now, to give you a benchmark of that, on a $3 per kilo basis on an average animal of 500 kilos, that's a pretty significant return if you can get $30 per head more simply off getting your animals to drink. Now, importantly, that needs to be recognised and understood, because when we open facilities such as this, so we're coming from a concrete environment, the old facility in Ballarat to the new one here, I guarantee you that once we have the first lot of weights come through, all of the processors will respond by saying the scales are wrong. And it won't be the scales, it'll be the fact that the yield is correct. And it's a difference in improvements in carcass quality and yield characteristics when you have animals at a modern facility and put them through that environment. Additionally, the other challenge, or it's not really a challenge, the other issue that's been identified is by the feedlot clients, that when they're buying animals, again, off a non-chlorinated water supply that have been through a facility such as this, that are not standing on concrete, their incidence of bovine respiratory disease plummets. And in actual fact, most of the data shows that it actually reduces to levels below direct consignment. Now, that's a pretty significant and monumental achievement when generically sale yards and facilities where you collate animals has been seen as the major contributor. Really what we've worked out through that is that it's not those things at all, it's simply how you treat the animals inside those facilities, how you feed them, their access to water, and therefore how you provide that information to give people confidence and getting more feedlotters, more meat processors buying in a market that they can't physically attend has a significant benefit to the producers at the end of the day in regard to the prices that they receive. So all of these things link together, and it's very difficult to correlate that into a single market report, but it's important to find and provide as much of that objective information, because people will start to understand, or the buyers will start to understand, the difference between facilities. And they will adjust, it'll just take them 2 or 3 weeks to do so. But if you can provide that and have buyers participating that are not in the region, it's a significant uplift. So clearly, AM Investment Group is a company that uses a lot of objective data, and a lot of that information comes from Meat and Livestock Australia sources. So we look forward to any opportunities there are to enhance research and development projects or work with MLA to improve how we interact and provide information to MLA, but also how we can help MLA enhance any of their services that creates greater transparency and improve competition.